This is the second part of the Module 3 test. This focuses on the point-slope formula, and that's the formula that you can see there in blue at the bottom here. Y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. This is not given to you on the formula sheet if you take the SOL, so this is one eventually that you would probably have to learn. Like the first section, there's two parts to this. You have to know how to find an equation given a point and a slope. And when we say point, we either mean coordinate or we mean ordered pair. When you open it up, you're actually going to get a list like this, which is a little overwhelming, I feel. But there are certain things that are in common here that I'm going to point out. So the ones that start with y equals are kind of like your answers. And the ones that start with a slope, these are really the questions. Now, they're actually paired up here. So like question 1 has a slope of 5, and question 9 has a slope of 5. And the reason we have two questions with the same slope is, if you didn't do that, you could actually pick out the answer pretty quickly, like the last unit. I know this has a slope of 5, and I know this has a slope of 5 because it says 5x. So by putting in two questions, I know one of them is this answer, and one of them is the other. And you'll see the same thing for -4 as well. Slope of -4, slope of -4. Slope of -3, slope of -3. So I'm going to work through the questions in turn. I'm going to write each one down. I put the numbers at the top, which relates to the question order where they appeared on the nearpod. So label our coordinates x1 and y1. Use that formula that we talked about, this point-slope formula, and then we just substitute numbers in as we're going along. So y1 is just the number above the y, so that's 0, the second coordinate. M refers to the slope, remember, so that's just 5. And then be careful here, it says subtract x1. So I put a subtract, but notice x1 is also negative. So I got two negatives here. So when I simplify this, the two negatives will become a positive. Now, I don't normally recommend writing over the top of your work, but for convenience, I'm going to do that for this question. Now we can go ahead and distribute this. So 5 times x is 5x, and 5 times positive 2 is positive 10. Normally you'd bring this number across here, but actually subtracting 0, y take away 0 is just y. Or if you do the opposite, it would be to add 0. And of course 10 add 0 is still just 10. And that actually answer lines up with answer 11 if you go back to the nearpod activity. Now obviously if we know this one, then obviously we know what the other one is. But just to make sure, label the coordinates again, x1 and y1, write out the formula, and then plug in each number. So y1 is 3, so put that here. The slope is 5, so put that under m. And x1 is 6, so write that one in here. There isn't two negatives this time, so we can just go ahead and start distributing. 5 times x, 5 times -6. And then to make it say y equals, we're going to do the opposite here. So instead of subtracting 3, we're going to add 3 to both sides. And just be careful here, it's not 30 add 3, it's -30 add 3. Which gives us -27, and that should match up with answer choice 8. Let me move on to the ones that had -4. So one of them was -19, so I label my coordinates again. Plug in my numbers, so y1 is 9, slope is -4. Subtract x1, so I got to subtract -1. So once again, I have my two negatives here. So I know that's going to give me a positive. So I'm just going to draw that straight in. You can go ahead and distribute now then. So -4 times x is -4x. And -4 times +1 gives you -4. To make it say y equals, bring this -9 to the other side. So add 9 to both sides. Once again, not 4 add 9, -4 add 9, which gives us 5. And if you check, you'll see that that actually matches up with slide 2 on nearpod. Clearly we would already know the answer to this one because it would be the other one that starts with -4x, but we're going to work through the question properly. Write out the formula, plug in the numbers. y1 is -6, so I got two negatives here again, so I'm going to want to make that into a positive. And subtract, the slope -4, let's write that in, and then x1 is just 2, so I put 2 here. When I distribute, -4 times x is -4x. -4 times -2 is going to give me +8. And to make it say y equals, bring that 6 to the other side by doing the opposite, which is -6. +8 take away 6 is 2. Whoops, I obviously didn't change this answer down here. I apologize for that. I was cutting and pasting and I missed one of the steps here. So this would be -4, and then 8 take away 6 is 2. And then hopefully that should match up with slide 8. As we had a little error here, let's just quickly check for this one. Oh, I forgot to change this one here. So actually, I apologize. This should match up with slide number 4 for that question there. So let me quickly change that down there as well. I just missed one of the things as I was copying and pasting there. All right, let's move on to the ones for -3. So one of them is 1, -1. So label your coordinate, write out the equation. Start plugging in the numbers. So y1 is -1. Notice again, I'm subtracting something that's negative. So the two negatives together will give me a positive. And on for x1, I'm just going to plug that in as 1. Whoops. And the m again, I forgot, is the slope. So that's just -3. Now we can go ahead and distribute. -3 times x. And -3 times -1 is +3. We do the opposite of +1, which is -1, so we just get y equals, and then 3 take away 1 is 2, and that will actually match up with answer 10 as you're looking on your Nearpod. For the other question, as we substitute in, y1 is 1, so we just put that there. x1 is -2. I can see here I have the two negatives together, so that's actually going to give me a positive. As I go ahead and distribute here, -3 times +2 is -6. And then move the -1 to the other side, add 1 to both sides. I've not really been cancelling here, but I hope you realise that's why we're doing the opposite. -6 add 1 is -5, and that should match up with answer 7. Part 2 involves when you're given 2 points, and basically you're going to use the same method that we used over here. You're going to first find a slope though, and then once you've found the slope, you'll just pick the first point that they give you, and you're going to rework the questions just as you saw a second ago. So as you look on Nearpod, it's going to look like this. You'll see 12 questions together. Some of them are coordinates, and some of them are the answers, so we've just got to figure out which one goes with which. Just to make it a little easier, I actually wrote them like this so we can actually see the questions, perhaps more in a worksheet fashion. And kind of like multiple choice a little bit here, because we actually have the 6 answers that we're looking for as well. Just so we don't cheat on the answers, we have got 2 of each slope again. So a slope of 1, 2 that have a slope of -1/3, and 2 that have a slope of -3. So we can't just work out the slope and then pick out the correct answer straight away. So going through them one at a time, I went into Desmos to type in these coordinates here. If you don't mind using the formula y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, go ahead, use that. I know a few people have been having problems with that in my class, so if we're necessary, we can always draw this picture out. We just type the 2 coordinates in Desmos, and then we start counting squares. There's kind of a lot of squares here, so we're going to have to be careful, but I can see there's groups of 4 here. So 4, 8, 12, 13, 14. And as I go across, 4, 8, 12, 13, 14. So 14 divided by 14 is 1. So if this was a multiple choice test, I know the slope is 1. I at least know it's between answers 1 and 2 now, and I could ignore the rest of these answers. So what we do is we focus just on this first coordinate now. So we're just going to ignore that second coordinate, and we're going to do just like we did previously. We're going to write the formula out. We're going to plug our numbers in. We're going to distribute 1 times anything. Of course, 1 times x is 1x, but we can just write x, and 1 times -5 is just -5. Do the opposite here to bring it to the other side, and then -5 add 9 would give you 4, and therefore you can see that this would actually be answer number 2. As we move on to the second one, once again, we're not actually sure what this slope is at all, so let's have a look at the picture. If you want to use the formula again, you can certainly use the formula. I'm going down this time, so I can see this is negative slope. I'm going down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then I've got to go across 3 squares. So -9 divided by 3 would give me -3. So I know it's between answers 5 and 9, and then now we will check. So same thing as before. Let's ignore the second coordinate now. We have a slope. Whoops. Looks like I actually have the wrong one written down here. Yep, this went down 3 and across 1, so this slope here should be -3, not -1/3. Whoops. We might have to correct a few answers here in a second. Oh, I did fix it here. I forgot to change it up here. So as I plug in the numbers here, just like we did before, those two negatives together, whenever we see that, we're going to change that into a positive. We can go ahead and distribute. -3 times +4 is -12. And then bring this term to the other side by doing the opposite. And then -12 add 8 is -4. And hopefully if I put this graph back, we'll see if that's one of the answers. Here we go. We can see that's one of our answers. So answer number 5. Third question. Once again, I plotted these in Desmos. I zoomed in nice and close. It goes up 3 and right 3. So 3 over 3 is 1. So I know the slope is 1. Now, I think I already had this answer earlier, so I could probably tell that it's this answer here, but I'm going to do the question properly just to make sure. So ignore the second coordinate, and then just use that formula again. Plug in each of the values. Y1 you can see is -1, but notice we got two negatives together now from the negative here and the negative here, so we make that into a positive. Of course, times in by 1 again doesn't do anything, and then bring that +1 to the other side, and then we can see that it's answer choice number 1 like we thought. Number 8. Once again, if you like using the formula, you can certainly go ahead and use the formula. If you don't feel comfortable with the formula, then you could also look at the picture. So here's my two coordinates I already typed in. I can see it's negative slope straight away. It goes down 1, 2, 3, and then it goes across 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So -3 over 9. If you simplify that fraction, you'll find that it's -1/3. So it looks like it's between 4 and 12. Ignore that second answer. We go ahead and substitute in. So 3 and 4, just plug those straight in, and then there that slope can pop in right there. -1/3 times -3 is +1. And then instead of subtracting 4, bring it to the side by adding, which will give you +5. And you can see that this is answer choice number 4. All right, just 2 to go. Same thing, if you want to use the formula, you can certainly do that. Or if you don't like doing that, you can look at the picture. So just type in the coordinates into Desmos and then zoom in until you can see it pretty good. So I go down 1, 6, 11, 12. I went down 12, and I go across 1, 2, 3, 4. -12 divided by 4 is -3, so I know it's one of these two answers. Ignore the second coordinate again. We're just going to focus on that first coordinate. Label it x1 and y1. Use that slope that we just found, and then use that point slope formula again. So plugging in the numbers, 11 for y1, the slope was -3, and x1 was 2. Distribute, -3 times -2 will give us +6. And then as we bring this -11 to the other side, we do the opposite, which is to add 11. And 6 add 11 gives us 17. So you can see that this is answer choice number 9. Technically, for our last question, there's one that we haven't done yet, so we could obviously figure out that it is that. We will work it out properly, though. Let's see if we can see both points on here. I might have to shrink this picture a little bit. I'm not quite sure that it's all going to fit on. Oh, yeah, it's a little off the side here. So let me quickly shrink this picture. Normally, I'm going to say you'd have the Desmos screen open at the same time, and then you'd be able to do the counting. All right, this is a little small here, but we go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then as we count across, 1, 6, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So as I come down to simplify that, -5 over 15, divide both by 5, you would find that it's -1/3. And then we can start to use that formula again. Plug in each of the numbers. Y1 here is -1, so we got the two negatives together, which is going to make a plus. And actually here I also have the two negatives, which is also going to make a plus. Just for neatness, I actually wrote this line out again just so we can see. Multiply, -1/3 times 6 is -2. Bring the 1 to the other side, so we have just y by itself. And -2 take away 1 is -3, which hopefully is one of my answers. Yeah, here we go. Answer number 12 at the bottom here. And just remember, all those numbers actually just came from this slide here. This is where I got them from. As you do the activity on Nearpod, you'll just click the two things and then they'll cancel each other out. That concludes the video for section 2. You certainly won't get as many questions as this when you do the real test. I think it's closer to 5. We just always like to give you more practice than when you actually take the test. If you do more in your practice, then when you take the test, it will seem that much easier for you.